What's up guys, it's Manga Time. Once again I'm here to bring you my review of Bleach 623 Against the Judgment. But before we begin, I just want to have a shameless plug. My friends and I have started up a gaming Twitch channel called 8-Brit Gaming, where we just talk and discuss games and play games on the streaming service twitch.tv. If you guys like games, it'd be just so great if you came and gave us some support. We're also moving more into YouTube. We do 2 podcasts a week, Tuesday and Thursday. And they go up on YouTube the same day they come out on Twitch. And we're going to move into more YouTube-focused content. So if you came and gave us a subscribe there as well, that'd be super great. There's already about 8 podcasts, 9 tonight, because we're doing another one tonight, on YouTube. So there's plenty of content there, and there'll be more coming in the upcoming weeks. So if you guys came and gave us a subscribe there, that'd be great. If you came and followed us on Twitch, if you use Twitch, that'd be amazing. I'll put the link to the channel up here and the link to the Twitch channel in the description below. But yeah, that'd be super great, guys. I'd really appreciate it. But anyway, let's go on with the chapter, because Against the Judgment is a great chapter, and it's a chapter that I really like, and I think you can kind of guess why. Because you know me, I love the STERNRITTER. I think they're great characters, and I love Aizen. Really, this chapter's got a lot of both. I feel like the first half of the chapter is a little bit fillery, which is a bit of a shame, but the second half really makes up for it. And one thing I want to point out is that there's not really been any fighting lately, for like weeks and weeks and weeks. You know, occasionally people clash, but nothing really, there's not been any fighting. It's been mostly character interaction, which is fucking fantastic as far as I'm concerned. Seeing these characters kind of interact with each other in these different scenarios is great. Seeing characters who've never interacted before is fantastic. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think Mayuri and Aizen have ever spoken to each other before, so that's really cool that they have now. But anyway, this week starts off with Aizen's Reiatsu, and we know that last week he was going to try and shoot down the palace, which is insane. And it destroys the black net around them. And Aizen's Reiatsu is just surging everywhere. And it's really nice to see Reiatsu actually having a visible effect on something again. Renji's kind of like, holy crap. And Rukia tries to rush to stop Aizen, but then Shunsui just grabs her shoulder. And I love the way he does it silently, like he just knows that, yeah, this isn't going to work, but you need to hold on. So, and again, I just still don't know why Rukia and Renji are getting this kind of like forward treatment, like why they're the ones that are dealing with everything Aizen related, since, as Aizen himself said, they haven't actually spoken to him since before Aizen left Soul Society, but you know, whatever. So anyway, Aizen creates basically this enormous Reiatsu tornado around him, which I presume is going to go up and smash the palace. Before he can do that, however, the tornado disappears, and this is when things get a little bit fillery. They are a bit. Aizen looks up and he's like, what the fuck? And basically, we find out that it's impossible for Aizen's Reiatsu to reach the palace because the restraints around him. They're not cancelling out his Reiatsu, but they just keep it locked around him. Therefore, it's impossible for him to shoot it up and bring down the palace. Shunsui, basically is like, the power required to cap your Reiatsu is immensely powerful. And he actually says that it's Soul Society's proudest achievement. And then Mayuri shows up, and we discover that Mayuri is the one who basically came up with the whole bondage shit, which makes a lot of sense, to be honest. Mayuri then says, Reiatsu is something that the Shinigami keep producing until the heart stops beating, which is interesting. We didn't really know that. It's almost like Reiatsu is a bit like blood. I mean, obviously I know they have blood anyway, but it functions a little bit like blood. And Mayuri says, all those prisoners, of course, this is the manga reader translation, as always. You guys know I like to get my reviews out as early as possible. So it's possible the manga stream one will have differences. And Mayuri says, all those prisoners in Muken for some reason cannot be killed. That's only because we don't have anyone that could stop their hearts from beating. I'm almost certain this line is going to get changed. We know that Aizen can't be killed because of the Hogyoku. But I mean, still, it's certainly interesting. And Mayuri then says, those bonds on you are just always there to keep your Reiatsu in check rather than cancel it out. And then basically Mayuri says whether or not they free Aizen is up to him, and he has this little random disc thing with a hole in the middle of it that apparently is what is keeping Aizen's restraints on him. And then we get this nice little bit here, which is Aizen being a boss as usual. And Mayuri's like, whether or not you bring down the palace is entirely up to me. And then he says it's a matter of pride, and that's obviously going back to what Shunsui was saying last week about pride. And whether it's Mayuri like purposefully spitting on what Shinsui was saying or not, I don't really know. But anyway, Aizen's like, I see, so that's how you're controlling these bonds. And then he's very typical Aizen. He's like, let's try it out. Turn your technology up to the max, and we'll see which wins, my power or your tech. Before he's able to do that, however, this U of light appears on his chest and kind of like straps him in. And then basically NaNaNa Najahkoop shows up. Honestly, this is totally random. Or at least I thought it was totally random at first. I was like, what the hell? But this is awesome, because we get to find out what NaNaNa's power is, and I don't really care about NaNaNa, if I'm completely honest. Out of all the STERNRITTER, he's one of my least favourites. He's got a pretty horrible design. And he's just barely done anything. He's barely done anything. This is the only time he's done something, and I think he gets killed. So his U is now strapped to Aizen, and it starts creating like this grid. And I don't think the grid actually does anything. I think it's just a visual representation of NaNaNa's ability, which you eventually get to find out, which is cool. So NaNaNa shows up and he's like, I've seen enough of your Reiatsu now. And apparently that Aizen's Reiatsu has lots of holes, and it's possibly because of the suit he's wearing. We find out that NaNaNa is STERNRITTER U, the Underbelly. And at first I thought this was kind of weird, but I now presume it's got something to do with the fact that NaNaNa's ability is kind of, a lot of people thought it was this, myself included, and that's he observes your Reiatsu, and then he discovers the easiest way to kill you. Essentially, he discovers like the weak points of your Reiatsu and then exploits them. So the Underbelly makes sense, because it's like striking the underbelly of a potentially armoured creature to kill it. So it's an interesting epithet, and it means now that the only epithets we don't know are Robert Akatrone and BG9, which is a bit of a shame, because they were two of the ones I liked. So, regardless though, it's cool that NaNaNa gets up and again. But what I want to point out is, how the hell does NaNaNa have his powers? Because weren't they stolen by Auschwallen? And I would say, and like Bazz-B and Giselle, I'm just going to say it, they show up later, and they also have their powers, and I can only presume that Liltotto does as well. So that's something we'll have to get into in a minute. But we then see the visual representation of NaNaNa's ability. Aizen's strapped to his chair, he's got the U on him, and there's just like a grid everywhere. And that's obviously NaNaNa attempting to pinpoint the exact location of Aizen's Reiatsu, which presumably is his heart, because that's just what Mayuri just said. So NaNaNa learns his, if he can pinpoint it, he can break Aizen open. It's funny because he's like, you're in a chair. I've never had a target this easy. And NaNaNa, like I said, he's barely done anything. We've barely really seen him. We don't really know anything about his personality. He seems to be a bit rude and a bit of a dick, but that's all I can kind of glean. Obviously, he's very beaten up from when Byakuya handed him his ass. But yeah, it's definitely cool that we are getting to see his ability. And then he starts like blowing Aizen up, essentially. Although Aizen does look nicely unfazed. I mean, afterwards he kind of just goes like that, but nothing really seems to happen. As this happens, though, Giselle, Liltotto, and Bazz-B show up, which is great because Bazz-B's growing on me, and Giselle and Liltotto are my favourite female STERNRITTERs. But NaNaNa's like, he won't even pass out. What a freak! So Aizen's clearly fine. But then basically, NaNaNa's like, in the next few moments, your Reiatsu will leave you paralysed, and that they can't have them shooting the palace down. So this is interesting, because NaNaNa is clearly still on Yhwach's side, which is certainly weird. But maybe he's just blindly loyal. And I have to be honest, at this point I was entertaining the fact that maybe they were all still blindly loyal to Yhwach, and we were about to just get a big battle royale. But what's happened is definitely better. And I think the end of this chapter is something that people have been wanting to actually see for a while now, especially with the recent events of the Auschwallen. So Shinsui's like, the enemy have come to us now, and then NaNa's like, we can't do the portal. The Reiatsu's all gone. We have to start from scratch. Jesus Christ. Seriously, this door is never getting made. This door is literally never getting made. But, Shinsui does his typical, he just greets them like, hello. And it's really cool, because they're all meeting each other again, and then Shinsui says to Urahara, please start making the door again, and we'll handle things here. So they do start making the door again. However, all the zombie STERNRITTER show up, so Giselle still has her powers, which is cool. We get a really neat little panel, actually, of Shinsui and Mayuri just standing there, and they're surrounded by zombies. And Mayuri's like, you're not dead yet, zombie girl, so you must be a zombie controlling other zombies. That's kind of cool. And then Giselle pulls a great face. Giselle's great, seriously. She's got such a cool design. But Shinsui's like, hey, Quincy, which is great. Shinsui's just so great. And he's like, I guess we agree on not wanting the palace shot down, obviously because Yhwach's there now. But Shinsui's like, I'm guessing you're not here to help us, though. And NaNaNa basically declares they're going to fight them. He's like, we can't have His Highness put in danger. And I really thought, I seriously thought for a little bit that Shunsui was just going to pull out a Bankai and fuck them all up. I really thought that the chapter would end with Shunsui doing a Bankai. And Shinsui's like, this means we're going to have to fight. And NaNaNa's like talking smack for some reason. There's like so many Shinigami around. He's like, we've observed you for so long. I'm going to paralyze you with my morphine pattern, he says, which is certainly interesting. But before he can do anything, he's blasted through the chest, which is funny because he goes down. And I presume he's dead. And apparently it was Bazz-B. Bazz-B shot him from behind. And as soon as this happened, I was like, oh yes, this is what I was hoping to happen. Bazz-B looks really cool in the next panel. And then Shinsui's like, what the hell is going on? And Bazz-B's like, I'll lend you a hand. Which is awesome. And Bazz-B gives them the reason that the Vandermyke exists in the shadow of the Soul Society. Therefore, if the palace came and crushed the Seireitei, the Vandermyke would be fucked as well. But Mayuri doesn't buy it. He says, are you seriously telling me that's the reason? Why should we believe you? And then Bazz-B's like, well, I'm not doing this for free. I want compensation. So take us to the Soul King's palace. Huh. Now I think we know where this is going. Bazz-B, Liltotto and Giselle want to go to the palace so they can kill the man who deserted them, Yhwach, and that's the end of the chapter. That's a really cool ending, and that's something I was really hoping to see. So basically, Bazz-B, Giselle and Liltotto are pissed about Yhwach doing the Ashvala, like we knew they were. Obviously Bazz-B was like, back when it was happening, he was like, is this how things are done by you? And Liltotto was like, is this all we meant to you? And it's really nice that he's actually coming out and mattering. So they're gonna go up to the palace with the rest of them, presumably. This would be the perfect time, in my opinion, to introduce Grimmjow and the Fullbringers, because now they're rebuilding the doorway. They're all meeting together. The STERNRITTER are finally here. They've swapped sides. So just introduce everyone else now. And now that Bazz-B's a good guy, he's obviously going to have them back and forth between Grimmjow, which I know people are really going to want to see. Regardless, however, whether or not they actually succeed in doing anything, I don't know. I really hope Bazz-B meets up with Askin and Hashwolf, and he's like, look, now we have to put into plan the rebellion. Because we know from 543 that those three were definitely thinking of something a bit dodgy anyway. Like, Askin was like, saying to Hashwolf, next Emperor, all this sort of thing. And the Uryu storyline never really went anywhere, which is a bit of a disappointment. The last time we heard anything about it, pretty much, was Bazz-B telling Rukia and Renji that he hated Uryu and that they'd help him kill him. And that was ages ago. So hopefully something might come out of that, but it should be interesting to see either way. Obviously Yhwach's not going to take this well if he meets up with them. But that's pretty much it for this week's chapter. Aizen getting trolled by NaNaNa was a bit shit. I presume that Aizen's going to be perfectly fine. But NaNaNa did literally come out of nowhere and start messing up the god of Bleach, let's put it that way. But, overall it was really good actually this week. There was a lot of dialogue, a lot of good talking, quite a lot of panels. There was a lot going on. The artwork was really nice for the most part. The character interactions, again, were really good. And that's what this Bleach has been about, character interactions lately. And it's working really well, in my opinion. I like having this break. We've had about 2 whole volumes now of pretty much no fighting, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the last fight, pretty much the last proper fight was Yhwach versus Ichibei. And that finished like 10 chapters ago or something like that. But, yeah, I was really happy with this chapter. I felt I kind of was going through the first like 7 pages and I was like, this is a bit fillery, with the whole Aizen Mayuri thing. So I'm going to drop an 8 on this week's chapter because I love the second half of the chapter with the STERNRITTER coming in and NaNaNa getting his epithet and then him getting wasted, which is funny. But obviously the STERNRITTER Rebellion is the best thing to come out of this week's chapter by far. It's a fantastic plot advancement. And I really think, guys, we could be getting near to Grimmjow. Even though I care more about Ginjo and Tsukushima. It's still going to be neat to see them all. I really think it could be soon because I feel like they're preparing for the final ascent. It's possible that Ichigo and the others might land amongst them as well. But the amount of back and forth Ichigo's done in this arc between the Royal Realm and the Soul Society is just weird. That is just weird. But anyway, that's it for this week's review, guys. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of this week's review. Not the review. Well, let me know what you thought of the review, but let me know what you thought of the chapter. How do you feel about the STERNRITTERs changing sides? Is this something you wanted to see? Where the hell do the STERNRITTERs still have their powers? That's also weird. Because clearly we see Bazz-B has his powers, clearly we see Giselle has hers, and NaNaNa. So, is it possible that Yhwach just stole a little bit of their power, enough to revive the elites and make them stronger again, and then, like, leave them alone? The whole House of Ireland is very iffy. Like, why did Robert die? What happened to Candice and Meninas, you know? So, yeah, that's all a bit iffy. But let me know in the comments below what you thought of this week's chapter. What do you think of the whole Aizen thing? Do you think it was a bit weird that he kind of got owned by NaNaNa Najahkoop? I know Aizen's sitting in a chair, but come on. So that's it, guys. As always, please subscribe. That'd be super great, and I'd really appreciate it. And give the video a thumbs up. That's awesome. Please check out 8-Bit Gaming if you're into video games. We do a lot of discussion stuff like that. That'd be really great. Just your support would be very appreciated. But until next week, guys. See you later.